Welcome to Bold Talk series where creativity, leadership, ideas, innovation come together. My name is Epi Ludvik, and today I have a privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with Ryan Miller, Product Marketing Manager at Impossible Cloud. Ryan, great seeing you. Welcome to our Bold Talk series. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. How are you, Epi?
Doing
Thanks for having me here.
well. Great to have you. And we're connected, but we haven't really have a conversation. The work that you do, and so it's nice to have you in this short format podcast that I started about a year ago. Ryan, tell us about your journey from co-founding AutoCamp at 22, at that age, to now leading product marketing at Impossible Cloud. What personal values or philosophies have stayed with you through each phase?
Yeah, well, thanks again for having me. It's great to be here. So, yeah, I mean, I have a very unique journey. I started AutoCamp, co-founded AutoCamp right out of college. So I was just a wee baby back then, and you know, I call that my first MBA because it was basically my graduate degree, all in one big experience. And now after a decade there and a winding path, I have found myself here in the greater Hamburg area in Germany and working for Impossible Cloud, where I lead product marketing. It's I think the things that are really in common about the two companies is it's all about great products. And I really am a firm believer that you have to have a great product to have a great brand and have great marketing. It's kind of a virtuous cycle that works together. So with AutoCamp, it's a kind of a groundbreaking concept that we started, 15 years ago, which feels like a really long time ago. But that's an outdoor hotel concept. It's in the experiential hospitality realm, which was really a new thing back then, but nowadays it's kind of everywhere. Marriott, Hilton, all the big companies out there are in this space now. So, and then with Impossible Cloud, it is a totally different product. It's a digital product in the IT space, cloud storage. But the thing in common about the two companies is really that they solve a unique problem for the customer, and they're great products at their core.
Yeah, I remember first time I was visiting a friend of mine in Sonoma Valley. These are the guys that have been in a wine industry for a long time, and he was telling me about the auto camp, about glamping, and I was like, "What is that?" How did that idea started first, like in glamping? Like it was a great concept. I never stayed in one of those, but I saw it was really amazing. I went to one of those. I think it was nearby Sonoma, and it
Did
was
you visit the one in Russian River?
visited. It was incredible, amazing. It's like
Nice.
with an open area for the working and the cafe. It was great.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite of the AutoCamp properties. It's kind of besides where we started in Santa Barbara. It was, I think, the first in the generation of AutoCamps that is now still kind of represented in where the brand is today. So yeah, but that's a personal favorite side of mine because it's cozy, it's not too big, and that area is amazing, Sonoma. But yeah, I mean the idea really, I want to say that we were really, visionaries in creating this outdoor experience from the very get-go. But that wasn't really how it started. It started as a different concept, which at the time, 2011, 12, was we were calling it urban camping.
Yeah, yeah.
And urban camping was, based around our location there in Santa Barbara. It was in a very urban context. So we built this little test case with 5 refurbished Airstreams there, and opened it up and stepped back and realized that this thing was so cool. We just loved it, but it wasn't in nature. And the outdoor piece really came in later, in my experience. And that was with the expansion to AutoCamp Russian River in 2016. Yeah. So, the concept evolved over time, like many great things do. And now look at it today. I mean, it's absolutely a leader in the space in the US, and, still has an incredible brand, still incredible people working there, and taking care of the little baby that we sprouted so many years ago.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's great to see that. So you worked across startups and larger enterprises, and what drew you specifically to Impossible Cloud and at this moment in cloud technology?
Yeah, so it was, I think the chicken came before the egg with this one. My partner, my husband, and I made a very, unique decision about a year ago, which was to take a life adventure and leave our life in California, where we had been for many years, and move to Germany, which is where we are now. And so that was really the first idea. And I knew I wanted to get into tech as a person living in San Francisco for many years. I always saw the tech world, and from the outside it felt like, from a professional sense. So this was an opportunity. I found the company. It was nothing special until it quickly became something that I realized was super, super special. Great synergies with, the person that hired me, and I worked closely with for over a year. The a person that lives in Germany, and is an expat, but also is from Los Angeles, like me. Totally just random coincidences, for that really lined up there. So it was more of a personal decision, that led to, me ending up in a cloud company. I didn't know the first thing about cloud technology then. And, through the process of working there for a year and a half, I've become fully immersed in it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those life experiences, right? So sometimes, we just have to trust the process, like going through it, and we come to something that we were not exposed before, and here we are, and now the cloud technology. How would you explain what Impossible Cloud does to someone who's not in tech or not familiar with Impossible Cloud?
Yeah, that's a good question. I wouldn't probably use some fancy metaphor to describe how cloud works, because, everyone is really exposed to the cloud in some way or another through their day to day. Every business and pretty much all data in the world is stored in the cloud, quote unquote, which is really data centers. They're, real estate, actual physical infrastructure, all around the world. And, we hear more and more about this these days because of how much power they consume due to AI, and computing power and all that stuff. Yeah, cloud it's really just, it's like a computer. It's like taking the hard drive of your computer where you store all your information, but just putting it, 100 miles away potentially, and transmitting the information to you, or around the world. And it's really critical nowadays, especially where with the direction of AI, and the amount of data that exists and is created every day it's crazy. It's a majorly growing sector, and the Impossible Cloud is one of the fastest growing cloud companies in Europe, which is kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's an interesting angle that we get into, but I'm sure we can talk about that.
Yeah. So maybe let's go a little bit about like on a problem you're solving that most people don't realize, right? More like a decentralized cloud infrastructure. Is that where the Impossible Cloud kind of fits in the marketing?
Yeah, that's it. It's part of our secret sauce, but our real identity and what we do is we provide sovereign cloud. And sovereign cloud it's another layer. That's really, what does it mean? Let's unpack it. It means that we are a European based company, and nowadays with the world as it is, the politics and everything going on, there's businesses and people all around the world are much more tuned in to the companies, the technology that they use, where what rights the company has to do whatever they want with your information, and also where the information is stored. So that's kind of what comes back to the idea of those big hard drive buildings out in, wherever they are. So Impossible Cloud, it's actually one of the only cloud companies that is European. It's actually from Europe and based in Europe and founded by Germans in Hamburg. And that's really unique because it's not exposed to different types of risk that you have with American tech companies, and storage and data cloud is run by is the market is really dominated by Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, all the big US hyperscalers. And more and more these days, European companies and companies all around the world they're questioning if it's right to put their data in Amazon because of the potential exposure, to uncontrollable, political situations, or um, you know, potential data security issues. So yeah, it's been an interesting time to work in the European cloud
Yeah.
sector.
Now, talk about some marketing. It's about taking a position in a marketplace and taking that uniqueness now with Impossible Cloud positioning itself as a faster, probably more secure and more efficient, in terms of the pricing than the big ones. What are the challenges in convincing a large enterprises to join you to make that switch, especially when the company is so big and make that switch? It's quite an undertaking, right?
Yeah, we just finished a messaging workshop actually, and so we did big session around this and got our findings together. And one of the most common problems we actually encounter is people being wondering about our name, Impossible. What does that actually mean? So it's, of course, as a marketer, as a brand person, I love to see that, because I'm like, this is a great opportunity, and it's a story that's untold right now for our company. And I saw that, I understood that before I started, that this means that they're after a bold idea. This is, unconventional approach, and it's impossible. And making the impossible possible. That's what we do. That's just a little tidbit of what's challenging for us, and what I'm hoping to, overcome in the coming months.
Nice. Now, Ryan, from co-founding AutoCamp to moving to Germany, doing Impossible Clouds, looking back at your boldest decision you made in your career, what was it? And how did it shape that person you're today?
Yeah, it's got to be this move to Europe. Spent most of my life in California. Started AutoCamp in California. My family's in California, and this has been such a great personal growth experience. That's dovetailed into a professional growth experience. It was really all about taking the risks, and doing something unconventional for ourselves, and just saying, no, we got to do this, and we might totally fail, we might totally regret this. And there were some moments, but now, a year and a half into this adventure, we're pretty happy with the decision. I think I'm excited. I know maybe I'll be working with European companies for, when I'm someday back in the US. There's,
God knows.
EMEA. Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, if some of these companies are doing some things right, and it's, I think, American tech can learn from European tech and vice versa. And, it's a really interesting time,
Yeah.
I think, to be in this space.
Absolutely. Now, Ryan, I can completely relate that because when I moved from New York to Singapore, I didn't know anybody. It was humble beginnings. Like you have to knock so many doors just to open one, and I can completely relate that. But that burning the boats mindset, like saying, "Hey, you're not going back. You're just staying with the plan and making the plan work." Do you think that startups, a lot of founders, they don't have that conviction. They go with plan A and plan B. For me, like there was always one plan A, and that's it. There's no other plan. I make it work no matter what. Once I make the decision. Do you think that there's a lot of conviction missing in the startup with the founders?
I wouldn't exactly say the conviction is missing, at least not in my experience. I totally agree with you. It's plan A until plan A doesn't work. And oh my God, we have to have plan B like tomorrow, or else dot, 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 So yeah, I think planning and strategy can, over planning and planning to plan, it's kind of the death knell of startups. I think quick decision making, being nimble, working hard. Those are the things that get startups off the ground. And I think, that dedication is, we've definitely got that in Impossible Cloud. The founders are, actively part of the company, in the office every day. So kind of setting the example for the rest of the team, which is it's cool to be in a startup and not be the founder myself. I get to be part of the team and not have that founder pressure. But it's pretty cool. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's great. Ryan, what does the word bold mean to you?
The word bold. It's a great question. I mean, my first thought was just in relation to typography, but that's probably a boring answer. I mean, it's really taking risks, right? It's all about not doing the best with what you've got, and having the conviction to make shit happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what it takes, right? Make things happen is the way to go. Ryan, great having you here. Thank you for joining me this Bold Talk series, and hopefully we get to connect again soon, maybe in person or virtually. Until that time, take care, be great, and be bold always. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.